America will have a break-in. Smart locks based at the deadbolt are no better. Alex?
Sure. We're going to show you how it works. As you can tell, I'm not an experienced...
This is breaking news from Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Joe Torres in the Eyewitness Newsroom.
I'm Sandra Bookman. We are keeping you updated on this ongoing power outage in New York City. The number of customers, number of people affected appears to be growing.
42,000 is the latest figure we have from authorities. This is a power outage, we can tell you, started right around 6:45 tonight, and we're pretty certain of that because the lights went out here in our newsroom on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. And we can tell you it seems that the power outage is affecting mostly the west side of Manhattan.
Yeah, apparently, from what we can tell, just walking around through the neighborhood, we've got reporters in various locations around the city. It appears to be running up the West Side corridor, Columbus Avenue to Columbus Circle, and then into the 40s. We are hearing reports that Rockefeller Center is dark, as well as some theaters in Broadway are dark as well. All of it, as Joe pointed out, along the west side of Manhattan. This video you're looking at, this is from Broadway on the Upper West Side. Most of these people, theaters at the AMC Theater, AMC Lincoln Center Theater there. Many of them told us they were their movie just about to get started, or they were in the middle of a movie when suddenly everything went black. They were told a short time later that everyone should evacuate the theater, and most people did leave, ended up standing on the sidewalk, hoping that the lights would come back on quickly, but that did not happen.
And we're approaching now 2 hours almost. Again, 6:45 is when it started. On the south side, we know this is going as far south as about Times Square, 42nd Street. These here are pictures underground, it looks like, subway service. Yes, so we know the subways have been halted. They were running, but they stopped at many of the platforms, which, as you can see, are dark. You saw a picture of Times Square a few minutes ago. A picture of Times Square in the dark, something that you don't often see. And then heading north, we know that the power, we talked to people along 72nd Street. They told us there the power is on. So we've got at least, what, a 30-block area on Manhattan's west side without power. And again, looking at live pictures of the crossroads of the world, very, very dark on this, what seems to be a blackout, a power outage on July 13th.
Yeah, pretty dark for Times Square. You can see there some of those giant billboards, electronic billboards, really those big monitors not on, it appears, at this time. One more note quickly about the subway system. The MTA is asking people to avoid underground subway stations this evening. So if you've got somewhere to go, hop in a cab or walk, because the power outage, as Joe pointed out, is affecting various stations and train service around the area. It's probably better to tell you most trains expect them to be, if they're running, to be running with delays, and certainly on the west side of Manhattan, it's better just to avoid those stations because the platforms are dark.
If you do go out for a walk, be careful because street lights are also out on the west side of Manhattan, and this here is video of people trying to make the best of the bad situation. Some Twitter video coming in. We want to encourage you, if you've got pictures or video that you want to send to us about how you're handling this power outage, you can send it to us at ABC7NY. But again, street lights are out. Theaters in the theater district emptied out. Movie theaters we saw on the Upper West Side emptied out as well. And we've got just now a notice from Con Edison saying the number is 42,700 customers without power on the west side of Manhattan. And the company right now will provide updates as they become available.
And what the report that we're hearing, what may have triggered this is some sort of explosion, a
transformer fire
explosion, 64th and West Side Avenue.
Yeah, 64th and West End Avenue, and we can tell you that for sure because the FDNY tweeted that they were heading to that scene for a transformer fire at 64th and West End Avenue. There were reports we even heard of possible manhole explosions a block away at 65th Street, but again, we don't know if that is in fact the cause of what's led to this blackout.
And what you're looking at now appears to be video from essentially the theater district in Manhattan, where we told you many people are outside of theaters going to Broadway tonight expecting to see a show. That didn't happen because many of the theaters, they are also without power. Another issue that we have been reporting on throughout the evening is that the FDNY has answered various various calls of people stuck in elevators. The power went out. We had people stuck in elevators at various buildings, again, on Manhattan's west side. So far, no injuries reported because of this, but that is also, as you might expect in a city like New York, something that the FDNY is having to deal with this evening.
And Sandra, in fact, the FDNY just put out an alert saying that they are addressing what's the spike in calls, as you can imagine. Loss of power, according to the FDNY, runs from 5th Avenue to the Hudson River, starting in the West 40s, again, all the way up to 72nd Street. So we can confirm that swath of the west side of Manhattan to be without power at the moment.
We've got reporters around the city tonight trying to get information to us, keep you updated on exactly what is going on. One of them is our entertainment reporter, Sandy Kenyon. Sandy is live this evening in the theater district. Sandy.
Can you hear us, Sandy?
Hello, Sandra. Hello, Joe. In a very dark, this is called the Great White Way, a reference to the lights. Of course, the lights are dark. I am in front of the theater with a lot of very disappointed people. You see, this is the theater where Hamilton plays. And, Mike, if you could just pan up and pan to the side, this crowd has been told there is no show tonight. And I'm going to ask Mike to just pan up. This is echoed all up and down these thoroughfares tonight. As we approached from 9th Avenue, the NYPD was directing traffic because, of course, there are no lights. There are no traffic lights. NYPD officials on bicycles, officers on bicycles, told us that the biggest problem they had right around 7:45, 8 o'clock, about half an hour ago, were all these people coming to see shows that are quite literally dark. In show business, there is a term, the theater is dark. That's reserved for Sunday evenings and Mondays. Today, Saturday night, normally these theaters would be at capacity. We spoke to a cast member, the dance captain of Hamilton, Ms. Sarantino, who told us that the cast was already at this theater when the blackout occurred. They gathered on stage, they warmed up, they sang songs to each other, and then management said, it's time to go home because there was no show tonight. Now, coming up at 11, I'll be talking to people who have saved their money, who have waited for up to 2 years to attend the show tonight. They are people celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary. These were graduation presents tonight. And, of course, there is no show. And all along this Broadway and everything we call Broadway right now, it's dark. Looking forward, you can see, Mike, if you look forward to Times Square, that is where we are headed next. There are some neon lights. We're going to be investigating. But right now, from Hamilton, this is Sandy Kenyon reporting live. Back to Sandra and Joe in the studio.
All right,
We're
Sandy.
dark here as the sun is setting.
All right, Sandy, thank you so much. We will talk to you later once you get down to Times Square. Sandy's right. You know, it's ironic. A friend from Atlanta was just here at the station yesterday. She came into town to see Hamilton tonight. She had tickets for that 8 o'clock show. She, with a lot of other people, are looking for something else to do tonight. Sandy said he's going to head down to, or head over to Times Square and talk to folks there where, yes, there are a few of the monitors. You see electronic billboards that are lit up. But the interesting thing is, I know, looking at this picture, those are the billboards on the east side there of Times Square. To the west, it's pitch black.
Yes, and look at the traffic that's building up on the west side there as people try and make their way in cars, and you can imagine what this does to traffic in New York City, even though it's much lighter on a summer night. Speaking of traffic, how many good Samaritans did we see out in the center of an intersection, directing traffic, making sure it was safe for pedestrians to get across and for other motor vehicles who are going across town, some going north, some going south. And there, in fact, here's a video of one, and this is right outside our studios, right at the intersection of Columbus and Broadway there at 66th Street.
Yeah, right across from Lincoln Center, right down a couple of blocks from us. So it just really bears mentioning. Joe's right. You've got to be careful out there tonight, whether you're on a bicycle, whether you are driving, especially pedestrians. people that would normally be in the subway, you're not going to do that this evening. So you're walking, just pay attention. Motorists, please slow down. And thank you to all the folks like this young man.
Yeah.
That's 65th. That's what it is. It's 65th and Columbus, or right there. Nice enough to get out and try to get folks to slow down, because it was a little scary.
Yeah, this was one of 2 or 3 people that we saw that were out directing traffic along both Columbus and on Broadway as well. And at least on the Upper West Side, if you're going out for dinner, those plans have been ruined as well, because restaurants don't have power. Other places, pizzerias don't have power. So it's been a challenging night. Yes, go ahead.
And again, we've got a team of reporters around the city gathering information for us, talking to New Yorkers. On the phone right now, I'm told, I think she is at Columbus Circle. Naveen, Eyewitness News reporter Naveen Dhaliwal. Naveen, it's Sandra. Can you hear me?
Hey, Naveen, it's Joe Torres. Can you hear us? All right, we'll try and confirm with Naveen in just a second. Well, one of the reasons you're watching us here in the newsroom is because we lost power. We're on auxiliary power here in the studio on the Upper West Side. Naveen, are you there? Can you hear us?
Even in this video, you can hear the sirens in the background.
Yeah.
That has been going on all evening since shortly after the blackout happened here along Manhattan's West Side. The FDNY answering calls left and right. Many of them, they're telling us tonight, is because of power lost, especially in high-rise. Some people trapped in elevators. At this point, no reports of any injuries. So if you are listening to us, able to watch us tonight, that is a lot of what's going. Everybody in New York answering the call tonight, just hoping to get us through the next few hours as Con Ed tries to figure out the source of the problem and correct it.
What was a very peaceful summer night in July suddenly turned into a very busy news night. Again, to recap, this hurdle started right around 6:45 tonight. You can see the graphic at the bottom of your screen. 42,700 customers, according to Con Ed, on the west side of Manhattan without power. Con Ed working feverishly to try and restore power. And again, the source of this, while it hasn't been made clear, we do know that authorities have been responding to a transformer fire at 64th Street and the West End Avenue in Manhattan.
Now, we can tell you, Mayor de Blasio, of course, we reported earlier this evening on Eyewitness News, he is out of the city. He is in Iowa on a campaign stop. That's in his campaign for president. The mayor has been briefed on the situation here in the city. He said that emergency personnel, as we've pointed out, are addressing the situation. This appears to be a limited power outage. So if you are in the city of New York, you've lived here for years, you know we've seen much bigger power outages than this. This one right now appears to be limited to the west side of Manhattan. He says, quote, "First I have to get the details on what is happening before he has to decide whether or not he is going to rush back to New York from Iowa."
Which gives you an indication of how difficult it's been to, in fact, get the details on specifically what's happening, because if the mayor is having trouble getting the details on what's happening, you can bet everyone else is having a little bit of difficulty finding exactly what caused this power outage along the west side of Manhattan.
Eyewitness News reporter Naveen Dhaliwal, again, she is out and about this evening, I think at Columbus Circle, and she's on the phone right now. Naveen?
Yeah, Sandra, a lot of confusion here at Columbus Circle and all over the Upper West Side as I've been driving around. Here at Columbus Circle, I'm in front of the subway station that is right across the street from Central Park, and it is closed off. About 4 police officers here at this hour. They're not allowing, obviously, anyone to go inside, but people have been stuck on the train for more than an hour. We're talking an hour and 20 minutes. I've been standing here for about 15 minutes myself, and people are still coming off the trains after being stuck in various spots all along the tracks. So a lot of confusion as to when they do come out. They didn't even know, as you were mentioning, what exactly had happened, because they had no cell service underneath. So now they're finding out. As I'm looking at the street, many emergency crews between fire trucks, police cars, ambulances, sorry about that, whizzing by. And the traffic itself, I was coming in from the Bronx earlier, and it started at West 71st Street and Broadway. That's where the power outage actually began. And many cars trying to get through the intersections, honking. At the same time, it's a Saturday in July, so you can imagine the pedestrian traffic that is out here. It is a lot of people out here. Some people now who can't even be in their apartments are now here on the street. So that is what we are seeing here at Columbus Circle, as well as pretty much between here and 71st on the Broadway side. Earlier, I was at a apartment building on West 60th where a few people were stuck on elevators. That was their number one for emergency crews. That was the number one priority, was to get those individuals off those elevators, of course, attend to any medical emergencies. And they seem to be quickly doing that, because I've been watching the emergency vehicles just whizzing by back and forth. And it's also great to see that some of these pedestrians are allowing them to do so.
Yeah,
so that is what I'm seeing here. Did you have a question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, just a quick question. You talked about the number of people that are out on the sidewalk there at Columbus Circle. I'm sure there are quite a few of them are New Yorkers, but there have to be a lot of tourists as well, just kind of amazed, you know, by everything that's going on around them. Have you had much opportunity to actually talk to people? I know you've been running around.
Yes, I actually did speak with two people who came in to see, just from New Jersey, who came in for a Broadway show. They were going to go see Aladdin. That's not happening. There was a young woman, get this, she actually had two big suitcases in her hand, and as I approached her, she was flying because she had to get to the airport, and she knew she was not going to make that flight. So that is what she didn't want to speak to me on camera, but she did say, I just can't. I'm very, very upset at this moment, because her plan was she was giving herself extra time. Now she has to find, again, you're looking at everybody wanting to now grab a taxi to get to where they want to get to. So the taxis and the Ubers and so on, they're also getting filled up. And that's where her concern was.
Yeah, it's going to be a rough night for a lot of people. There's so many, this power outage has so many repercussions that I guess a lot of us don't even think about.
Well, one of them is, as I'm looking at the screen, it's 82 degrees outside. So if you lost power, which means you've probably also lost air conditioning, it'll get hot and stuffy pretty quickly in so many New York City apartments, which will push people out onto the streets to try and get some fresh air. So one thing ripple effects into the other, and it'll be a long, long night if the power is not restored soon. And again, we're keeping a close eye on Con Ed, reaching out to them on the phone, via email, via Twitter, social media, trying to get a response from them and perhaps some sort of update as to when the power will be restored.
Yeah, and we just want to reiterate, this loss of power is from 5th Avenue to Hudson River, and from the West 40s to approximately 72nd Street here on the Upper West Side. So it's, you know, New York City total. It seems like a small area. There's quite a few people, businesses, homes in that area. So just be patient.
Yeah, a small portion of Manhattan is larger than many cities across the United States. Con Ed also, and the New York City Transit encouraging people to avoid below-ground subway stations. You might see a train moving, but the platforms themselves are dark. So it's a very, very difficult and treacherous situation underground, even though there's no power and what might seem like running subways. Again, the platforms are dark. Go ahead.
And just a few minutes ago, we told you Mayor de Blasio is in Iowa campaigning for the ahead of the presidential primaries. We did manage to get an interview with him. Here's a little bit of what he had to say just a short time ago.
All of our emergency personnel are being deployed to address the situation. It appears to be a limited power outage, but still affecting a meaningful number of people for sure.
All right, that was Mayor de Blasio on the campaign trail in Iowa, is he?
Iowa, yes.
Sending a video message trying to... we also have some information from the City Council Speaker, Corey Johnson. He says it's a major disturbance as it was described to him, according at the 49th Street substation. 5 subway lines directly affected. No trains believed to be stuck in tunnels, but the MTA busy checking elevators at the stations at this very moment.
Yeah, it's interesting talking to people that were in the subways when the power went out. One woman described pulling into the station, not really knowing anything about the power outage. Train doors open, they get out, absolute black.
Yes.
She said it was complete darkness. They made their way. People were calm, though. They made their way up the stairs. Looks like this is some video from some of the trains here. Another woman described being on a train that started to slow down in the tunnel, and she said people on board started to wonder if they were going to make it to the platform because it was inching along so slowly. And that train, she says, the first car was the only car that made it to the train. The platform. What she believes is it appeared the train had lost power. They were able, everyone had to exit from all of the cars through that first train because it was the only car that actually made it to the platform. She said everyone got out safely. It was just a little bit bewildering.
Well, you know, that's probably an effective way to safely get people off the train, is to make sure that only one of the cars opens up onto the platform. Everyone has to move forward, and then you don't have sort of a mass exodus of people out into a dark, dark platform.
Yeah, again, this